Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad that you're here. Today's video is all about travel journaling and sharing some of my experiences and tips with you. I've been keeping this travel journal for over a year now, and I've unsuccessfully tried to keep travel journals in the past, so I've learned a lot along the way. And in this video, I'll be discussing some new ideas for future travel journal spreads that I have, as well as some of the mistakes that I've made and things that I would definitely do differently next time. So let's get started. I want to start off with some ideas that I've had that I've either seen other people do or that I've done in different journals but not in my travel journal that I want to incorporate in the future. The first is leaving some space for other people to add to your journal spreads. I did most of these when I was back from my trip, so I didn't have the chance for someone else I was on the trip with to add their thoughts or some ideas or things that they would want to catalog too, to get a different perspective. I think that would be really fun. Or have people that we met on the trip add in some doodles or some fun local restaurant suggestions or things like that to give it a little bit more of a different perspective as well. Bonus points if it's in another language too. I think it would be really cool because I only know how to speak English, so it'd be really cool to have some other languages in here. And I've done that in my swap journals before, where two of my friends and I share different journal inserts, and each of us will write some spreads and then pass it around. So I'd love to incorporate that into this travel journal, and I'd be curious to know if you've done that before and how it's worked out. Another idea that I had was to add some more like mixed media and art stuff into the journal. I used a lot of things like stickers and washi tape, and you can see some of them that I have here. So I really love doing that, and it was a great way to decorate, but I've seen other people do things like painting architecture that they've seen in person, or maybe even just using some watercolors or some gouache to make a background, or, you know, paint around a photo or something like that to give it some more dimension and some different textures. Again, I've done that in other journals before, but this journal could not really handle that, so unfortunately I wasn't able to do it in this one, but that would definitely be something that I want to add. Even like sketches of food or other things that I saw or ate or drank would be really cool to add, because I didn't get a lot of opportunity to talk about the things that we ate because it was just so focused on places we went and things that we did. Another idea that I had was to dedicate pages to specific themes of the trip instead of only doing things day by day. This specific travel journal spread for when I was in Italy and Greece only really talks about the things that we did, a little bit about what we ate and drank, but not a ton. So I think it'd be really cool to do a themed spread about my favorite foods or drinks that we had while we were there, and add some photos or, like I was saying earlier, some art supplies to bring them to life, so that everything isn't just everything that we did that day, because sometimes there's only a little amount of space, so you talk only about the highlights. And I really love food and trying all the amazing food that we had on this trip, like at this restaurant that we went to on the cruise ship. And it would be nice to have a themed spread around the food and drink that we really loved there. And an itinerary spread at the beginning before I jump in would also be great. I kind of just started with, Rome day one and kind of just steamrolled forward, which is perfectly fine. But I think as the years go on, it would be really nice to look back at, the itinerary of where we were going each day, and maybe a little bit overall about the trip, the ship we were on, the places we were going, to kind of give you a preview of what the rest of the pages say. So I think that would be something I'll add in the future, especially for a long trip like this. Another idea for a themed spread would be a playlist spread, to capture the music that we were listening to while we were on the trip and kind of bring you back I know sometimes when I listen to certain albums or songs, it really brings me back to that time where I was first listening to it or listening to it a lot. So I think that would add another dimension, things that you saw, you ate, you experienced, you were listening to, and just kind of paint the whole picture. I think that would be great as well. When I was on this trip and in my How to Start a Travel Journal video, I talk about how I took notes on each day and the highlights of each day so that I could remember when I came back from the trip and spend more time doing this really intricate, collaging and travel journaling. But I do kind of wish that I also had the chance to do more long form journaling, and I tried while I was away, and that's why you don't really see these first few pages, because I did try to do some long form journaling, and while it does really help me remember exactly what I was doing that day, and it brings a lot more like clarity to what happened and how I was feeling, it also wasn't sustainable for me. And that's why I sort of suggest that if you are go and you don't really have time to sit down and journal and decompress like we did, I was just exhausted after every day because we were doing so much, then, a shortcut can be to add these highlights. In the future, I think it would be fun to do both, like have the long form and the nice kind of short form with the visuals and other things, so that you can kind of do both. Now we can talk about mistakes that I've made and things that I want to do differently next time. I talked about them a little bit already, but I wanted to go into more detail. So I noticed and I realized on my way home, I was thinking about how I was going to put this travel journal together, and I was thinking about the supplies that I have, and I realized that I had almost no travel themed stickers or washi tape or anything, like almost absolutely nothing. So in a panic on my way home, I was sitting in the airport and I ordered some supplies from Paper Plus Cloth, my favorite stationery store here in Toronto that sells that kind of stuff I was looking for, and I put in an order and I had it delivered the same day. So I got home and the courier arrived like 2 hours later to drop off the travel journal themed stationery with lots of like stamps and tickets and things like that. So I would suggest maybe don't panic buy in the airport on your way home, and make sure that you have some travel themed supplies and papers and things to use for when you get back. I really leaned heavily on the ephemera and things that I captured along the way when I was on my trip, which was really, really helpful. But for those little things like the little tickets and the washi tape and things like that, I was really scraping the bottom of the barrel of what I had. So would definitely recommend doing that. Also, a mistake that I've made is using these Crayola Supertips for titles. I used a few different colors throughout to, write the fake calligraphy that I did for each day. And some of the titles have already started to fade because Crayola Supertips are not exactly, archival quality. They're not really made to last forever. I'm trying to see if I can find the one that really has lightened over time. But that's something to be aware of, is I'm expecting to keep this like for the rest of my life and look back on it like a scrapbook or like a memory keeping thing. So I don't think I will keep using Crayola Supertips for the titles, as great as it is, because I have 100 colors of them. I think it was this one. Yeah, it's like really light. I don't want to look back on this in 10 years and all of my titles are gone because they've faded over time. So definitely try using like archival quality markers and, art supplies and things like that if you're going to use them in your spreads, so that they don't fade away or degrade over time. Speaking of things fading over time and the paper as well, I chose this journal before I left, honestly, because it was one that I had lying around and I'm trying to be better at using up the journals that I have. I liked that it was a soft cover. It's not too big. It didn't seem too scary. It had, the grid pages, and I figured I could easily fill it up with a few trips worth and it would be great. But the problem is it's a moleskin, and in my experience, moleskin paper is terrible for fountain pens and it's not fountain pen friendly. And that's just a minor thing for me. And if you're a fountain pen lover, you'll probably already know this, but if you want to be using fountain pen ink and art supplies and other things like that, make sure you're using a journal that can handle it and that is made for that. I'd probably use some kind of mixed media paper next time around so that I can use all the supplies I want, use fountain pens, and don't have to worry about it, coming through the other side or smudging everywhere or not looking as good as it could. So definitely keep that in mind when choosing a journal and choosing the kind of paper that you're going to be using in your travel journal. Another mistake that I've made is actually putting some travel journal spreads in other journals. And I don't know why I did that, but make sure that you decide what goes in your travel journal. Is it day trips, road trips, smaller weekend trips, as well as the big trips that you might be going on? Or is there a difference between the two? What goes in this journal, what goes in another one? For me, I kind of wish I kept it all together, also to help me kind of fill up the pages, because let's be honest, I don't want to be in this forever. But that's another mistake that I've made, is there's a couple of spreads that have travels, like a weekend trip or 4 or 5 day trip that's more local, not international, but they're not in this journal. And I'm like, why did I do that? So just also thinking about, maybe that's perfectly fine for you. You just want trips that are really big and international and really long, and you want to keep those in here. I mean, even these spreads here that I'm looking at right now, I didn't travel anywhere. My friends actually came and traveled to see me, but I got to sort of be a tourist for a weekend with them and show them around the city. And I wanted to catalog that because it's really important to me, and it felt like a trip even though they came to see me. So, there's no rules about what you can and can't do except for the ones that you set yourself, and maybe set those up beforehand so you're not like me and thinking, wait, why isn't everything in one place? So that's another mistake that I've made. Another mistake, I could go on forever, is that I didn't keep up with my daily log every day while we were away. You can see that I ended it about a week in, and then when I got home, it was so much harder to remember what I did past those days because I didn't keep highlights. You could keep it in the journal itself like I did. You could put it on your phone, but if you're going to do it this way and just keep some highlights, make sure you do it every day, because it was so much harder for me to remember what happened on which day and where we went because there was so much going on. So I would definitely recommend, if you're going this route, do it every day, and also make sure that everything is in order. Our ship had to detour and swap a couple days, so I had to make sure I had the right itinerary, and I have some notes in the back here. So make sure that you're keeping up with your daily log, or like I mentioned, keeping up with your long form journaling every day, every other day, so that you don't forget those small moments and things that you really want to remember. As a bonus, I have a failed travel journal from 2018 where I went to Taiwan and Hong Kong. And you can see there's not a fountain pen in sight here either. I tried to do some more long form journaling while I was on the trip, and some really great art and drawings, as you can see, and my pens were running out. It's messy, but looking back on it, there's so much of that day infused in each page. So it's really nice to look back on, but I also didn't keep it up while I was there because it was just too much to try to handle every day. I even did a little swatch page of some washi tape and things and pens that I picked up while we were there, and I still have, actually, it's this one. Yeah, I still have this washi tape, so it's nice to see those and remember where they came from, and a few tickets from the trip. So you can see the remnants and the starting of ideas for this journal starting in here, but I didn't keep up with it and I didn't finish it when I got home. So I learned from that mistake because now it's way too late for me to remember the details of the everyday to fill in those blanks. I hope those tips and ideas and mistakes are helpful for you to learn from and add to your next travel journal. Let me know if you try any of these or if you have any other ideas. Otherwise, I will see you in the next video. Bye.